In this video, we will dive into the movie Nobody 2. We will discuss the storyline, summarize the plot, and explore the cast and characters. Additionally, we will cover the movie's production details and box office performance. Finally, we will provide reviews and share personal reactions. So let's get started. The film opens with the Hutch Mansell's Bob sitting in the interrogation room, looking beaten up, this time sitting with a dog. Two agents speak to him and ask him who he is. Sometime before this, obviously has returned to his life as an assassin, taking on the contract issued by the barber Salman to the work of his debt to the Russians for destroying the object. His work was kept him more distant from his wife Bika and the kids Bratty Cake and the Sami. Kiyos acknowledges that his work is keeping him from his family and it is weighing on him. Hutch later sees an ad of a summer town called Plummerville that his dad David took him and his brother Harry to when they were kids. Since summer break is coming up, Hutch convinced Becca and the kids to go on a trip as a family. Hutch promises to Becca that he will keep his work life out of the picture while he is with his family. He even tells the barber that he is requesting a break before taking on his next contract. The Mansells pick up David from his retirement home so he can join them on the trip. After settling the kids into the room, Hutch and Becca spend a private afternoon in their room drinking wine after a long time apart. Later on, the family tries to go to the water park together, only to be told that he is close due to his incident. They are given hot dog couples as a consolation, so Hutch takes them to be nearby dinner for lunch. There he catches the unwanted attention of the local sheriff Abel, since Hutch was reminiscing about spending time there with David and Harry. The family then goes to the arcade after getting faced past his father too, while their Hutch try to talk to Brady, who has had a black eye from what was originally believed to happen during one of his football games, but is implied to be from a fight. Brady gives some tickets to some girl who were checking him out and then uses some other ticket to buy a prize for Sammy. One of the girl's boyfriends, Max, antagonizes Brady for taking to her and then gives some his prize in too. Brady responds by taking Max in the face and then twisting his arm around. Hutch intervenes as do some of the arcade staff. They are forced to leave, but when Sammy tries to pick up her doll, one staff member snacks her arm. Hutch initially tried to let it go for Becca's sake, but then quickly walked back to beat the shit out of the staff member, plus one co-worker and other guy who tried to be a hero. Hutch and Brady are at the police station, where Abel is ready to grill Hutch. He meets Wade Martin, Max father and the owner of the Plummerville theme park. He is angry with Hutch because Brady twisted Max bitching her. Wade orders Hutch and his family to get out of town. After Hutch agrees, Abel tells him to go after Hutch and get rid of him. The next day, Hutch takes the family for a duck boat ride, but he notices some of Abel's guys following them. He lets Becca, David, and the kids go off on the one boat while he hops on another, and lets the four goons follow him. After trying to de-escalate the situation, the goons proceed to attack Hutch. He shows them that he is no ordinary tourist, but he loses a pinky during the fight. After getting tossed out the boat, Hutch resurfaces and continues kicking their asses. The lead goon later contracts Abel while being wheeled away and missing a few teeth to let him know that Hutch got away from them. Hutch later contracts Harry to come up him before getting in touch with the barber. He informs Hutch that Plummerville has always been a secret haven for drug trafficking and woman named Langina. She is seen in her casino up engaged on opponent at the poker table. After learning that the man was cheating, they kills him, her dealer, the every last eyewitnesses, the barber warned Hutch not to be pleased of Langina. Wyatt is shown working for Lentina since she killed his father and he has forced him to repay off his father's debt. Wyatt wants out, but Lentina has high class in him. After they hang up, Lentina talked to Abel since he also worked for her. Double crossing Wyatt, she ordered him to keep Wyatt in line by taking something or someone of value to him. Abel kidnaps Max and holds him hostage. Hutch finds a warehouse where Abel and his goons are meeting, along with a huge pile of cash made of Valentina. Hutch deuces cash with gas and returns to burn it unless Abel agrees to beg of him and his family. Abel relents, but as Hutch is leaving, he notices Max being taken away. He leaves brief but quickly returns to start annihilating Abel's goon. One guy tried to kill Hutch using a table saw, only for Hutch to push the guy's head down into the tablet. When every last guy except Abel is dead, Hutch faces Max and shoots one of the light, causing the spark to light the cash and some nearby chemical. Abel runs away everything inside while Hutch drives away with Max. Ladina soon learned that all of her assets are gone, and her goons bring our surveillance picture of the Hutch and his family in the Plummerville. Abel, who survived that is badly burnt, contacted Landina to have around more men to go to after Hutch. She officially declared war against the Mansell and proceeded to go after them. Hutch has diabetic become and the kids to a nearby lodge for safety since he will try to get them at the hotel. He also brings Max here for safety, and he and Bratty are officially on good terms. Before Hutch goes to finish things, he admits to Bika that he broke his promise, and he suggests that she get away from him for her protection. Hutch goes to speak to Wyatt, who is in a drunken rage over Max's disappearance after trying to attack Hutch. He claims Wyatt down and informs him that Max is safe. Wyatt explains his relation to Landina and how he had her. Wyatt shows Hutch his father's personal weapons that he would have used against Landina before they killed him. They proceed to booby trap the entire theme park as they await Landina's arrival, with some help from David and Harry. Meanwhile, Becca asks Brady to be in the charge while she goes for a walk and takes a nearby rifle with her. Landina and her goons arrive at the theme park, while her henchman Josh brings a few gunmen with him to be lodged to go after the family. After Abel leaves Landina to Hutch and Wyatt, she has her men execute Abel. Payne and the gunmen start to go after the man. They lead the goons into every possible trap, whether it remains in the ball pit or swinging the grenades. Each truck gets blown up promptly. At the lodges, Betty tries to fight off a truck while Max keeps Sammy hidden. Harry shows up and slices up the bad guy with his katana before dueling with Cartouche after a brief fight. Harry decapitated his Cartouche. Most of the park's henchmen are down, but Hutch, David, and Wyatt have all been incapacitated. Landina prepared to have Hutch executed, but Wyatt shoots one of her henchwomen before he can kill Hutch. That woman's partner goes nuts and tries to kill Wyatt in retaliation, but she is shot too. Landina tries to kill Hutch herself, but Bika catches an eye with the tranquilizer dart. A final wave of gunmen show up, and David races to set up the final round of the explosive. Hutch and Bika dive into a pool as the whole place goes up in a flame, with Landina cracking a small grin before she and her men are incinerated. Hutch and Bika are later seen being interrogated by the agent, along with the dog who was rescued for the park. The agents are called Badger, Sperium, and her fears to let the Mansell's go. The family later return home, where they watch a slideshow of pictures from the trip together. They include pictures of the family having fun, along with the pictures of Wyatt and Max since they are now all friends. Hutch sits and smiles as he finally gets some peaceful time with his family. Will Nobody 2 pick up earns at the box office? Universal's sequel to the pandemic era hit nobody, stating Bob as a seemingly mild-mannered dad who actually kicks ass and takes names, is aiming for $10 million to $12 million from 3,200 North American theater in its opening weekend. That's marginally ahead of the original 2021 film, which debuted to $6.8 million at a time when cinema around the country were just starting to turn the light back on after COVID. Even with that hobbled movie viewing landscape, nobody managed to power to $27 million domestically and $57 million globally. Then the first film was popular enough to own a premium video on demand platform for Universal to greenlight a sequel, in which ordinary returned with the vagueness in the follow up. His character Hutch Mansell takes his family on vacation to the small tourist town of and finds himself in the crosshire of several shady locals. Nobody Two was modestly priced at $25 million just above the first time, $16 million price tag. Nobody Two wants have the ascertain to unseat weapons, which is on its way to flipper his status after topping the box office last weekend with $43.5 million. Zack Rager's R-rated thriller looked to repeat number one with estimate of $20 million to $22 million in sophomore outing, a better hold than the average prep horror movie. That's because Weapons is benefiting from great review and solid sword up mode. So far, the film generated $71 million globally engaged a $38 million production budget. It's the latest in the line of commercial winner for Warner Bros. Following a Minecraft movie signer, Final Destination Bloodline, and Superman. Wing 40 number 2 Sport Against Nobody 2 is Disney's Freakier Friday with projections of $10 million to $12 million in the second weekend. The PG films reuniting Lindsay Lohan and Jamie T. Curtis as mother and daughter who swapped places has earned $28 million to in North America and $43 million to worldwide after 3 days of release. This weekend, other newcomer Spike Lee's crime thriller Highest to Lowest will open in the limited release on roughly 300 per second, adapted from Akira 1963 Japanese film High and Low. The modern day remake follows a powerful music mogul who is staggered by a ransom plot. Denzel Washington starred in a 84 film, his first collaboration with Lee since 2006, Inside Man, alongside the cast of A$AP Rocky, Jeffrey Wright, and Ice Spice. Reviews have been positive, with Variety chief film critic Peter praising Lee for delivering a soul-searching genre movie that entertained while also sounding the alarm without about where the culture could be headed. At this point, the overall box office is 7.5% ahead of all last year, but 23% behind of 2019, the last pre-pandemic year, according to Comscore, with summer revenues at $3.2 million through the middle of August. The movie theater industry hope of hitting the is elusive $4 million mark could be more different than many box office watcher predicted at the start of the popcorn season. Then again, Hollywood loves a twist ending. The hit 2021 action movies, nobody has a simple formula. Wall-to-wall carnage with an explosive ending that leaves the door open for an entire franchise. But nobody ending explain means each gear could already be turning for nobody too. Nobody follows retired assassin turned family man Hutch Mansell after he failed to defend his family from two intruders who break into his home in the middle of the night. The incident reignites the urge to the and dangerous Russians, a mobster named Julian has returned to his old ways to keep his family safe. In the nobody ending, Hutch's brother Harry and father David, also retired assassin, come to Hutch's dad and Mansell's take down every member of mob. The movie last scene picks up a few months later, Hutch and his wife Becca buying a new home and attempting a fresh start. However, Hutch receives a mysterious phone call which implies that he is officially back in the business. Who called Hutch at the end of Nobody and why still is not known, but it perfectly sets up the Nobody sequel. In Nobody's final moment, a retailer shows unlikely action hero Hutch and Becca around a new home At first, it seems to be a moment showing that Hutch has given up. He is always and family committed to his family, but suddenly the realtor receives two calls back to back. Bika encourages her to answer the phone, and it turns out the call is for Hutch. Hutch previously got out of the game because he found himself jealous of an old Mark who settled down and had a family. Hutch found all of that, but he is clearly unhappy with the wide-peaked fence lifestyle. Nobody opens with a quick montage of 3 weeks in Hutch's boring life and marriage. That boredom stopped him from protecting his family on the night of the robbery. But his reaction to that incident is what showed him that he missed his old life. Hart set off a John Wick like dangerous chain of events when he angered Constance, but with the safety of his family to at stake. He had the motivation to see the job through. Initially, this seemed like a one and done situation, but after receiving the call on his realtor phone, Hart seemed content, happy almost. The suggestion that someone here that he took out can and has more work for him. The Nobody soundtrack cops of these final scene will let it go drums roll. The title of which could itself be a hint that Hush's adventure are not covered yet. Nobody post credit scene sees Harry and David on a very specific mission. The scene picks up with their father and Sanju after they escape the showdown with the Russian characters in the Nobody. They're driving in an RV and seem to have a very specific destination in mind. The camera pans to back of the RV and sees that is loaded with weapons. Harry was previously thought to be dead, and as David lived in a retirement home, he was thought to be long retired, but it's clear that these two are back in action. Their mission likely related to Hutch's final scene phone call. Nobody demonstrated that Hutch will give anything to protect his family, and he tried working side by side with Tom. That means Harry and David are likely heading back to wherever Hutch has settled in order to help him carry out this next job. This is what set Nobody apart from other other milestone up movies. Nobody was written by Derek Coslet, who was wrote John Wreck and like Hutch. Vic is a renowned assassin, however. Vic is alone in the world and has nothing left to lose. Hutch still has his family left, meaning that he has come boundaries that cannot be crossed. While many original movies hope they are successful enough to warrant a sequel, the Nobody ending days Johnny gone track to establish a story that can last for multiple movies. Nobody sets up a strong internal conflict evidently Hutch, a family man with a violent past that finds the suburban and lifestyle unfilling. He is good at what he does, but every job could put his family in jeopardy. The ending shows that he has found a solid temporary solution by ensuring, however, he lives has a secure basement, but that won't last forever. Nobody too will likely force Hush to choose between their work and his family once and for all. Nobody also sparks a dangerous external conflict for Hush in Nobody too. Was a well-connected man in the criminal underworld, while the Mansell took out the Russian in Nobody final. Likely has some equally powerful friend. They will be furious to find out that Constance had been killed, meaning they will likely come after her. Similar to how John Wick, burning bridge in John Wick Chapter 4, Hutch will find out who can rely on Nobody too. This opens the door for an endless starting of villain and allies to come after Hutch or after their help, will lead to the opportunity of multiple movies. Universal has officially greenlit Nobody too, with the first film repaying $56 million from its partly $16 million budget and the narrative momentum, setting up a sequel. Odinkerk, Rarzia, and Christopher Lloyd will be blowing up screen again in the Nobody universe. Producers David Leitch explained, "Oh, I think everyone's really excited about it. Everyone involved is like, full steam ahead where we are in the script process, and I think we had so much fun making that. Kelly, MC, and I had a blast. The actor had a blast. The studio loved the result, and it's happening via Collider. Greenlighting a movie's development doesn't always mean the movie seems the light of the. So many films end up in the development hell. However, there was no issue with Nobody 2 development, and the movie is already going into the production. Not only is Nobody 2 confirmed, but Bob Odenkirk revealed that Nobody 2 started shooting in 2023. The actor added, "We need to make a great sequel, and so it's about making sure that we get it right." Nobody 2 currently has a 2025 release date, meaning fans won't have to wait long for Hutch's next adventure. The ending of Nobody does not just wrap up Hutch Mansell's explosive journey at no underscore the importance and value of a reclaimed identity. By the time that does settle, Hutch is not just a suburban dad with a dark past. He is someone who has accepted both halves of himself. The man we were see walking away from the wreckage of the warehouse is not conflicted anymore. By the time the credit roll is Hutch Disney control, when Hutch chooses to spare vulnerable life at first and then ends up co-hosting a first bloody booby trap climax. It's not about vagueness, it's about drawing a clear line in the sand. This is who I am, and I won't hide it anymore. The character's arc is less about the transformation and more about the revelation. The nobody of the title turned out to be someone who was never truly gone, just dormant. Haj is not running from violence anymore, but he is also not letting it consume them. Symbolically, he ending of Nobody Double John on the movie is central to him. The tension between the domestically and danger. Haj is not running from the violence anymore, but he is also not letting it consume him. The phone call in the post-credit scene, where he is asked if his new house has a basement, plays a smarter punchline and a setup. It tells viewer he's still in game, still ready to flip the switch when needed. That balance between family man and assassin is what given Nobody is unexpected emotional depth. This is not just another revenge flick, it's a story about reclaiming agency and about finding freedom in the thing that once shackled you. Hard does not mean peace and quiet. It means peace with himself and a channel crowded with stoic tough guys and self-awareness gives Nobody a surprisingly human edge. Nobody was met with glowing reviews from both critics and audiences when it debuted in 2021. On Rotten Tomatoes, it holds an impressive 84% critic score and a stellar 94% audience score. Numbers that reflect just how much the film resonated across the board. The movie's breakneck pacing, inventive action, and Bob Odenkirk's surprising turn as an action star stole the spotlight, and while the ending did not necessarily redefine Nobody, it did successfully. Tease a sequel fan were eager to see. Critics were quick to praise the movie's confident direction and standout fight choreography. Brian Tallarico of Roger Ebert gave Nobody 3 out of 5 stars, highlighting how the movie leans into what matters most. Director T ultimately gets that matter heroic, giving a talented actor an unexpected vehicle to drive really fast with just enough bloodshed for action fans and not too much gore of average audiences is a rare modern action film that makes me hope it does well enough to produce a sequel. Nobody works because it values scene, construction, and action choreography above all, as leaving behind pretension and overplotting there is a been common in the genre in recent years. In other words, Nobody does not win over viewer with plot twists or shocking reveal. It succeeds by being straightforward, stylish, and self-aware. Benjamin Lee of The Guardian was of a similar mind to Tallarico and many other critics who enjoyed Nobody immensely. Despite the ending perhaps doing anything unexpected, while he noted that his story and nothing were somewhat formulaic, he emphasized that it does not matter when everything else was firing on all cylinders. There is a simple, shaggy charm to watch Hutch rediscover his particular upscale. Lee wrote, praising the family's now iconic bus fight. He is an imperfect yet resilient fighter, believably imbued by age, making him a character far more thrilling to watch, they say. Anyone of Liam Neeson's namesake superhero. Long-term fans of both Bob and Keanu Reeves have wondered whether their respective character could show up in the same movies sometime in the future. Maybe even in John Wick, spin-off Liam, Nobody's director. has teased the possibility that John Wick and Hutch Mansell share a narrative universe with crossover potential from different studios. Spoke to IndieWire, he said that everything is possible and that stranger things have happened. That's not a yes, instead, it's an invitation to watch the next movie and see what happened. While not everything needs a sequel, nobody was a re- relocking revenge riot that provides similar thriller to John Wick and successor, which ended up getting better and making more money. With each consecutive releases, these movies would be excellent thematic and tonal bedfellows and Keanu Reeves. Two-hander would provide interesting target practice for chemistry development whether after Nobody 2 or any upcoming John Wick movie or spin-off. There will be a plenty of opportunities for David Gerstead to create his own shared universes. Nobody 2 has kept the Marvel Stars tradition of including a post-credit scene for fans to hang on after the light come up. The action comedy sequel to 2021 Sleeper Hit titled Nobody He brings up to Bob Odenkirk as Hutch Mansell. He is former citizen turned family's man, but unlike the original film, this time we have a stand-alone ending before the next chapter is announced. But that does not mean the franchise has no future. So let's look at now Nobody 2, set up by the first installment, and should we be expecting any more movies from this saga? The first Nobody had the most neat and beautiful setup that even the best action movies can only dream about. After Hutch's brutal breakdown of the mob, the final confrontation that came up with his father David and brother, Harry the film's ending feature and interrogation scene. Just when he wishing was his header for some serious legal trouble, the agent's phone begins ringing and quickly changes the mood. Bob Leeds is quietly released, and then we see him with Becca touring a new home. They ask the writer if there is a basement, which is a sly note to the habit of sending his family in there is case of danger. The final scenes feature Harry and David diving together in an armed comparison, ready for more shows. Fast forward to Nobody 2, and the sequel picks up. While Nobody 2 does not drop any broadcrumb with a credit scene, Bob Odenkirk has been sure about the franchise's future. While speaking to Comic 2 revealed, I think there are four films, and it's not just the actor thinking long term, but also producer Scally MC Comic. She told the AU review, I hope there is more to tell with the Hutch Monsters and the Monsters family. So Hutch's storyline was deliberately set up in a way that would allow the creator to explore more adventure if the audiences want them. It seems like the Bob Odenkirk Hutch is not going to sketch a break of a while, especially if Nobody 2 becomes a clean hit. So there are no post-credit scene this time, but maybe the entire movie is a setup for what's to come next. What do you think? Should his Hutch's story stretch to four films, or do you prefer the one and done deal? The past month has been released of the several anticipated films, ranging from Freaker Friday to Superman and even the Fantastic Four first step. Why take so many trips to the theater when you can enjoy this work from the comfort of your home? While most of digital releases did, here is an estimate of how long you could have to wait to watch these final films at home. Hollywood is making big money right now, with Superman making $583 million F1, the movie making $575 million, and Jurassic World Rebirth making $801 million at the box office, according to Box Office Mojo. Nobody 2 and credit scene charters back the moment Nobody 2. Hit theaters on August 15, 2025. The 89 minutes equal bring back Bob Odenkirk as Hutch Mansell's under director Timo, working from a screenplay by Derek Kolstad and Aaron Rabin, alongside returning cast Connie Nielson, Arzadeh and Christopher Lloyd, with new addition John Otis, Colin Hank, Colin Salmons, and Sharon Stone. The premise is simple. Hutch attempts a family reset with a vacation to Plummerville, a wild majestic midway and water park, only for crime to find him. The Nobody 2 and credit scene questions matters because the first film used it credit to see up more story here and film ends on a family not a franchise bait and switch. The Nobody Chu and Khaleesi conversation is really about tone and trajectory, a reset to domestic normalcy that gives Hutch professional shadows close, that tensions home versus habit defined ending and any next setup. The first moment recompresses nobody's DNA. Family premature, enforcement tool, and controlled escalation into the water park. Hutch moves the fight away from civilian and toward terrain he can shape. Our case prompt home. Slide Tower, Bika, Nielson, and David are not bystander. They function as flanking spaces, with Bika stepping into the line when Hush is bind and David acting as roaming cover. Harry provides reach and pressure, the same family triangulation that defined the first film bust era aftermath. The antagonist Lentina frames the conflict as a test of Hush's domestic softening. Hush counters by the dictating by the battleground rather than the body count, forcing Lentina's crew toward bottleneck, then isolating Lentina for the finish. Dialogue beats emphasizes stakes without grandstanding because clipped. Assurance to the kids, Lentina's turned about Hush going up. Hush's request commitment to end it here. It's official, not lyrical. Once Lentina's operation collapses, corrupt local enable get naturalized and her directorate is ended. The movie assists the Victory Lab montage of future missions. Instead, the angry drops to family temperature that pivot matter to the nobody Joe and karate scene debate. The film deliberately white out a hard sequel look to center the series' real motor. How Hush tries to live with what he good at. A key storyline threaded through the sequel is the unfinished ledger from 4 years ago. Hutch remains intact to organize flair and has been working it on the only way he know by being useful. That fact refrained him. Vacation, the family trip, is not a cure. Rather, it's a stress test and is the last image before the credit roll. The film answered to who Hutch shows up for first. The Nobody Joe and credit scene is not a scene. It's a signal. Credit open and family image. Vacation photos that echo their closing tableau, suggesting Hutch will attempt at home reset. Yet the film's premises keep the hook in. He still carries a professional debt load and a reputation that attracts trouble. The Nobody Chew and Coliseum, therefore furniture as a thesis. Family first in intent. Trouble film him in a practice. It frames up pragmatic near-term path for Hutch. Parenting repair with Bika, and only if necessary intervention, while acknowledging that neutrality and obligation don't evaporate because a villain fell at a water park. In plain terms, the Nobody Chew and Gladys scene keeps the land open for future moment without promising a destination. Nobody 2 was released theatrically on August 15, 2025 by Universal Pictures. This Timo directed film is written by Derek Kolstad and Aaron Rabin. It's produced by Bob Arthur's lead character, along with the Braden Aftergood, Kelly MC Cromick, David Leitch, and Mark Provisor. Its official synopsis as per Letterboxd data. Former assassin Hutch Mansell takes his family on a nostalgic weekend to a small town theme park, only to be pulled back into the violence when they clash with a corrupt operator, a crook sheriff, and a ruthless crime boss. Nobody too focuses on Hutch Mansell, played by Bob Odenkirk, who used to be an assassin for the government after cleaning up her debt. Mansell realizes that his relationship with his family has suffered, so he decided to go on family trip with his wife, Bika Mansell's Connie Nielson. There he is confronted by a set of people. Toward the end, Landlina Sharon Stone gets Abel killed for her behavior. Meanwhile, Hutch teams up with the Wyatt Martin to wipe out her henchman. However, Wyatt recovers a bullet while David is knocked out. This allows Landlina to fire at Hutch. Bika puts out a dart in her eyes at that exact moment. David Mansell wakes up and detonates the borg, which he leads to Landlina and her team getting killed. All this while, Hush and Bika, along with their wolf dog, are getting questioned at a genie hangar. As nobody two inches toward an end, both Hush and Bika are set free from police custody. This happened due to the Hush's deep connection with the police as well as the mafia. The exact identity of the person who sets them loose is not revealed, but it can be conjectured that they are related to Barber, who used to be the Hush government handler. Barber had given him input regarding Plummerville in the film's beginning. He may want Hutch to go scot-free because if he gets caught and spells the secret, it's Barber himself who will be exposed. The ending of Nobody 2 makes it clear that Hush still owes a debt to the government, which means that he will need to do more mission in the future. This sets the stage for a potential third installment. The last scene of the film showcases the family looking at their vacation album, where two dog pictures have been added. In a potential follows up, we can see Hush going on yet another mission to clear off his debt. Meanwhile, the makers can also focus on David's life as a retired federal agent while Hush was wiped out an entire gang. Someone connected to the damn night returned to seek revenge. What are your thoughts about the film's ending? When Nobody 2 arrived in the theater on August 15, 2025, fans were eager to see how Hutch Mansell's suburban life would once again collide with his violent past. The sequel to 2021 sleeper hit pushes Hutch into bigger, bloodier set pieces while also exploring his role as a husband and father. This time, the action has not just followed Hutch Fist, it follows his family, his debt, and his uneasy place in a world that refuses to let him rest. The ending of Nobody 2 reframes Hutch places in the world as both his family man and daddy government auditor. At the same time, it leaves plenty of questions about what comes next, particularly for Pika, Hutch's conflicted wife, who takes on a more active role this time around. The final act of Nobody 2 sees Hutch confronting Sharon Shoshon's Landina, a reckless smuggling kingpin whose operation is tied to Permalive, the setting for family dissatisfaction. Hutch does not face war alone. Bika and his father, David join him in battle, and together we wipe out her entire organization in a spectacularly destructive showdown at the amusement park. Their victory is definitive. Abel is executed. Landina's crew is wiped out, and Hutch delivered the kind of brutal, inventive action this series is known for. But victory comes at a cost. Hutch loses a finger during the ordeal and was it to admit to Bika that he simply cannot turn off the darker side of his personality. This honestly reframes him. Family dynamic no longer shielded from his violent reality. Bika and the children are drawn into the whether they like it or not. The movie ends with a Hutch, Bika, and even Lentina's wolf dog released from custody thanks to order from an anonymous government figure, likely to Barber. While Jim may seem free, this intervention suggests Hutch's try to the intelligence community remain strong and compromising. His freedom and, by extension, his family's safety depend on obligation he cannot walk away from. Bika, played again by Connie Nielson, undergoes a significant transformation in Nobody 2. In the first film, she was portrayed as distant, frustrated by Hutch's quiet withdrawal from life. In the sequel, she steps into the action in a way no one executed. Far from being a passive observer, Bika fights alongside Hutch in the climatic showdown, down even tranquilizing Lendina in the eye during the final confrontation. This involvement changes her role entirely. No longer simply the spouse who tolerates hitches, Hutch Pasti actively participates in the standing by him even when it terrifies her. Earlier in the story, Bika openly challenges Hutch for breaking his promise to stay out of trouble, but she also makes clear she is leaving. This duality reflects her complex position. She is conflicted but committed, aware of the danger and unwilling to abandon the family's bond. By joining Hutch on the battlefield, Vika redefines marriage as a partnership shaped by truth, rather than Daniel. Her acceptance raises intergoing possibilities for the future. Was her release from custody also tied to Hutch government connection could have deeper history, with Hutch and intelligence would play a larger role later. Nobody too hints that Pika is no longer simply collateral in Hutch's story but an active piece of the puzzle. While Hutch defeats Lentina and rescue his family, the ending makes it clear his journey is not over. The barber's unseen intervention to free Hutch and Pika from custody confirms that Hutch is still on the hook for debt owed to US government. His role as an auditor is by nature open-ended, promising more mission before his sale is clean. The film is also set up by character arc for potential nobody tree. Hutch teenage son Brady struggle with the shadow of his father's violence. In one crucial moment, Brady shows mercy, suggesting they may not follow Hutch's path. David, Hutch's father, also gets explained lore, with hint that he raised Hutch and Harry through mission of their own. This backstory suggests there is much more to uncover about the family long ties to the intelligence community. The final is carved of a visual album of the family vacation, complete with new addition. Ladina's dog and the wolf dog, now living with the Mansell. At its moment of rivalry after the chores, or underscore how far the family has shifted into the Hutch world. They are not escaping it from anymore. They are living with it. By leaving Hutch government obligation unresolved and deepening the family involvement, the ending ensures that future installments have fertile ground. Whether it's Hutch being sent abroad on new mission, Bika's growing role, or Brady's battle to avoid repeating his father's mistake, the sequel has its door wide open. Nobody Two is a 2025 American action thriller directed by Timo from a screenplay by Derek Kolstad and Aaron Rabin. It is sequel to Nobody 2021 and continues the story of Hutch Mansell, a seemingly mild-mannered man whose secret life as government assassin refuses to stay buried. The film stars Bob Odenkirk as Hutch Mansell, Connie Nielson as Bika, Christopher Lloyd as David, Arzadeh as Harry, and introduces Sharon Stone as the criminal Langina. Supporting roles include John Ortiz as a corrupt theme park owner Yard, Colin Hanks as a Sheriff Abel, Colin Salman as the barber, Gaig Manor as Brady, and Pace Leak as Sammy. Principal photography began on August 6, 2026 for in Vipening and wrapped on September 26. The film was released in the US by Universal Pictures on August 15, 2025, earning positive reviews for critics of its planned brutal action, dark humor, and surprising emotional. With a runtime of approximately 1 hour and 29 minutes, the film is rated R for strong bloody violence. Director Timo has explained how Nobody Two ending separate the franchise from things like John Wick in a big way. Nobody Two picks up after the first film, as Hutch Mansell's Bob attempts to reconnect with his family on a peaceful vacation, only to be pulled back into the action when they are faced with an unexpected threat. The film has been met with a mostly positive reception, with Nobody Two certified fresh written tomato. Now, in an exclusive interview with the screenwriter, Timo has revealed a deeper meaning behind Nobody's Two ending, the importance of Hutch Mansell's family, and how the sequel references the data. Furthermore, discuss this what makes the Nobody franchise as a whole markedly different from John Wick despite his similar style. Check out the director's full comments below. Reading the script, my biggest takeaway was essentially when you see somebody like Connie, you don't see a damsel in distress. She is a lot of things. She definitely a woman with tough skin, and when you see her, she is the perfect embodiment of Hush's courage. She is also backbone essentially, and I think Bob agrees with that. By the end of it, or when we see them under the water, she is literally giving him the kiss of life. We feel like we earned this moment because this is what makes us different from John Wick. John Wick is a lone wolf. He is a myth. He is literally a living myth. While Hutch is just a man who's killing a bunch of people, but at the same time, He is not above not having family, he needs that, and that's a good thing. As explained, the ending of Nobody's 2 is not just about high stakes shootout or perfectly choreographed combat, but recognizes who has his one man army. The sequel firmly distance him from the archetype. Hutch is not a lone wolf or a mate, and it is because of family's presence. The final moment, including a submerged rescue kiss from Bika, where she literally brings him back to life, drive home these contracts. Bika is not Statland like Johan Wick's own wife, as she is integral to the plot. Similarly, Hutch is not a superhuman machine of the Veganans like Vic, as he is not above having family. He needs that. There's a good thing. By including the Hutch's family in the action, Nobody 2 turns what could have been a standard action sequel into this something more human and emotionally grounded. The film involves from its predecessor, explored Hutch interpersonal relationship and ultimate motivation. As a result, Nobody's 2 is not a clone of John Wick's mythology, which is a built around a man who lost everything, including his family. Instead of being driven by the Veganants or legacy like Keanu, his famous assassin, Hutch is driven by something real to him. Consequently, Nobody 2 stands in a genre ruled by a lone wolf. Characters like John Wick, while Hutch thinks he can survive without him, embodying this archetype as or says it's actually his family that support him the most. 87 North production has been the go-to for that type of action millennials grow up on while keeping it authentic and innovative. The studio has a strong filmography with the John Wick series, Love Hurts and Cardi. Many actors looking to punch, shoot, chase, and blow shut up their way to big boss officer. Recognition always find their way to the studio. Bob is no exception as the actor did so with the 2021 Nobody, hoping to continue success with the 89 7 North production. The actor returned for Nobody 2 with director Timo and turns the sequel into the cross between a John Wick and National Lampoon's Vacation. The result is a combination of action and family comedy that succeeds in distracting filmmakers from noticing that the movie is just an 89-minute trailer, all style and no substance. Nobody 2 brings back Odinkerk and his bloody conkel to fill up all of the bloody body bags, gets behind the lens to lend his acquired skill as an action director to tell the story written by Derek Kolstad and Aaron Rabin. This time around, Hutch Mansell decided to take a break from his full-time assassin job to take his family out of a vacation at the water theme park. However, wherever Hutch goes, trouble follows. The main selling point of Nobody 2 is the action set pieces directed, and there are plenty. The filmmakers behind Headshot and the Noir comes for us has a talent for drawing these audiences into the action for maximum impact. He does not hold back for Nobody 2. Many of the big shot out and first fight unfolds stylishly while allowing me to grasp the scenes entirely. There were several moments where all Cake's method of dispatching was one inventive and just plain cool. The on-joys come to mind including answers on dartboard and trying to stay on board. It's a closer quarter setting that brought me to engage with the scene entirely. The scene was able to carry a level of comedy that measured with the brutal nature of the fight. In addition, brings that level of action to desert bullet and explosion field that's pretty much home alone in a theme park. That's the good stuff, how no for the bad. The plot for Nobody 2 is incredibly thin, with story beats that are set up but never really paid off. The movie starts with Hutch struggling to juggle his assassin life with his family life. There are points in the first act where the character's marriage to become is on the brink of falling apart. It's a relatable topic that could have been added some emotional stack to the physical ones, yet it is handled poorly within the scene. Along with the wafer chain script is the fact that I really did not get any sense that any of the main characters were in danger. Sure, the bodies came off as threatening and all that, but the movie plays out in a practical manner that drains much of the fun from Nobody 2. Furthermore, the acting does not plan out for the movie as well. Nobody films are not meant to be anything grand when it comes to the acting. These movies are created to draw audiences is with as many bullet fight and bangs as possible. However, most of the actors, except for two, should have been able to pull their weight. I have been following Odinkerk's career since he started alongside David Carson Mr. Shaw with Bob and David. The actor showed that he carries and still seen with the critical acclaim in the show like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. What's he doing in his movie? I don't know. Audrey had a habit of seeing a lot of looking John whenever he some moment where he is. It was a real step down from his previous work and was baffling to watch. The only people who know what kind of movie they were Sharon Stone, the villain, and Christopher Lloyd as Grandpa Mansell. The two leaned into the stillness of the film and were the standout of the cast. Nobody 2 is a bigger budget action movie that looks the part on the screen. They were part of the film that it felt like a Universal Studio theme park ride and were worth watching. The film started on a promising note with its theme for family and living a dangerous life, but ultimately failed. Nobody 2 is nothing more than a pure short and first flying action flick. If that's your thing, you don't in the place. The introduction of Disney Plus as Disney's own streaming services seemed to change the studio's strategy according most of their major brand. IPs like Marvel State, Star Wars, and Pixar essentially become entire subgenres from Disney Plus content. Now, after several years of saturation for the respected brand, a new report covers the so-called damage at Disney Plus. They do this about properties and how the studio hopes to recover. The report falls in line with the previous statement made by the various executives, including the Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige, who acknowledged that there was too much MCU content being distributed on Disney Plus. While fans are very initially ecstatic about seeing so many more Marvel's characters brought to fall, it eventually led to conversation and brand confusion as interest in the MCU waned. Star Wars faced similar issue with a variety of the live action and animated shows having some produced in recent years as further elaborated in a piece by the Wrap. A marketing executive pointed out how much damage these strategies caused for Star Wars and how it looked a very appeal for fans. When we went to Star Wars movie, it used to be special, but it's different between let's have a movie every 4 years versus let's have this shown on the air all the time and have a movies every year. The executive shared the echoes a similar statement made by producer and how people don't care now about Marvel as a result of Disney Plus expansion. Given the quality of the Marvel's Disney Plus output has been incredibly mediocre, it's dragged the entire brand down and deleted after its creator. People don't care now. We have seen Disney's Marvel Studio and Lucasfilm attempt to rectify these issues more recently. Our show of Disney Plus are being inconcluded with more several theatrical projects being put in the works instead. Marvel Studio is attempting to produce more traditions and standalone television shows with their Marvel's properties, allowing less homework for MCU's fans to studio. It remains to be seen how Disney's other label, such as Pixar, will recover. The studio has failed to find success with its attempt to original IPs, and so far they have major sequel in the work, including Toy Story 5 to try win audiences over again. Ultimately, we have to see how Disney's new strategy pan out. While Disney Plus once seemed like a golden opportunity during its initial launch, it has proven itself to cause more damage than executives were prepared for. While Marvel Studios has a track record for greenlighting numerous films and television shows, not every project they put into development gets out the ground. For example, the MCU series was outright shelved after difficulty in struggle. A shelved Marvel series might find new life as a movie instead. But it's no surprise that Marvel Studios and Disney have been reworked their strategies regarding content on Disney Plus. In fact, Marvel Studios has been developing more traditionally made show than the previous MCU into our for Disney Plus. This has resulted in some shows on no longer making the cut, however, including one series that fans were looking forward to. Fortunately, Marvel Studios is still thinking about the series, and the report suggests that it could be green light by the studio to become a movie instead. Insider Daniel Orishman shared as much, suggesting that the studio is currently in talk to determine whether his property would work better as a series or film. The property is none other Nova, a MCU series that would revolve around the incredible superhero of the same name, one that was previously slated to have A.D. Barrino as a showrunner. For those unfamiliar, Nova is otherwise known as Nova Corp's member Richard Rider. He has fight crime across the galaxy, not unlike MCU other cosmic characters, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Because the project was shelved, however, it's unclear if Marvel Studio will get Nova off the ground anytime soon. It likely depends on what format the studios decide is best for the character, and according to Richman, it was very could be a future film. Stay tuned to a green cake of my additional update regarding the Marvel Cinematic Universes and the potential for a Nova movie as we have done. It would certainly be nice to see the titular superhero get it too in the MCU, so we will have to see what happens with his project in the future. Amazon Prime Video is one of the biggest streaming platforms available, alongside its likes of the Netflix and Disney Plus. While all of these streaming services LG seek to release quality project for subscriber, that is not always how things work out. This is evident with one of the latest Amazon Prime Video releases, which while reaching the top of the streaming services chart, is also being considered the worst movie for the year. In fact, some viewers are calling the film one of the worst movies of all time. It certainly does not help the fact that the movie is inspired by one of the greatest novels of the all time. There have not always been well-received adaptations of this particular title, but this may be the most negatively received interpretation of the story yet. Interestingly, it seems to have been a combination of behind the scene innovation and corporate product placement that led to this film's creation. While innovation are often appreciated, such as those in the found footage channel that film is also tapped to. It seems as if viewer did not connect with this movie sense of style or the filmmaking techniques behind it at all. Thus, it's too surprised to see why this Amazon Prime Video release is our worst movie of the year, or why see what it's all about. The 1898 novel The War of the Worlds from legendary authoress J. was inspired a variety of incredible adaptations over the year. Sadly, not all of them have been success, and it seems as this latest iteration could be one of the worst movies ever made. The new Amazon Prime Video film distributed by Universal Pictures, titled War of the World, stars Ice Cube, and as of this writing flopped into an incredibly rare 0% on Rotten Tomato. The history of this particular adaptation reaches back to 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic was forcing film studios and creators to think outside the box as an uncreatable landscape. Many film projects were produced in which cast members were not physically near one another. This new adaptation of the War of the Worlds was attempt providing a view of the alien invasion from the Ice Cube's Department of Homeland character with Redford. As a skilled hacker and a surveillance expert, Redford became the center of attention for the film as he possessed the technical power necessary to. David and Kelly MC Comics 87 North production has left a major mark on action film over the past decade. Even 87 North first film was not released until 2019, and MC had previously. Even 87 North first film was not released until 2019. Lich and MC Cormick had previously delivered audiences John Wick, Atomic Blonde, and Deadpool 2, while John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum marked his first official 87 North release. Their next original project, Nobody Embarrassed, the frenetic, brutal combat of lead and MC Cormick previous film, while also delivering its fair share of humor, with Nobody 2 audiences and delivered yet. With Hutch fully returning to his role as editor, a ruthless agent who carries out the most violent of government mission. His wife Bika sees that he might be throwing himself too deep back into his old life at the cost of missing out on family time. A committed family man, Hutch books a vacation for the whole clan at a water park. Bob Odenkirk is, as the kids say, a national treasure. For more than 3 decades, he's managed to inject even the smallest of roles in either comedies or drama with a quirky enthusiasm only he could pull off. So while he proved his dramatic chops in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, witnessing his complete transformation into an assassin for the original nobody was a conceptual delight. Making matters even more thrilling is that his action sense in the debut movie showcased him holding his own against a variety of attacks which put a fresh spin on the assassin coming out of retirement trope. With ordinary Sahaj no longer being in retirement, the movie kicks off with more action than its predecessor, all of which is sadistic delight under Timo, even if the hand-to-hand combat early in the film is just the pulse pounding, if not more so, than the original Nobody. There is no longer the building scene, often shown as audiences wait to see what it may take to for Hush to snap. His kicking ass and occasionally taking names from the jump, which undercuts the build toward the moment in which Hutch will inevitably release the without the dramatic tensions building out to a while nobody to by virtue lean more into the lyrical nature of the premise rather than its being a surprise that Hutch is an assassin. The audience sees how difficult it is for him to reply to dinner plans when his phone is covered in blood and he can't type correctly. Even if the inciting incident on Hush's vacation is an offensive display of aggression toward his young daughter. The ensuing fight scene showcases unconventional shows of a claw from a claw machine and reimagine a much more violent take on whack-a-mole. Subsequent boat on duck boat. In orchids and throughout an entire water park, lean into the duck's juxtaposition of the movie's brutality with silly involvement. Much of this undercut the impressive fight choreography sees in the original movie. Sadly, despite the impact alleged MC Cormick and 87 Not have had on the action movie genre over the year, their offerings have become so formulaic and derivative. They lack the inventiveness that put them into the map originally. Movies like Bullet Train, Day Shift, The Fall Guy, and this year's Love Heart all feel like rip-off of the more successful 87 Not movie. Despite coming from the actual creative team, there are still moments of delight to be found throughout nobody to action leaning scene. They just don't land quite as hard as the previous film, or even as hard as action scene in film that are apping 87 Not hostile. The cartoon level fight scene are visually engaging but don't quite make the Indians audiences sequel into their spirit anymore. Even if the combat itself is not quite as impressive as the previous movie. Order Cake is still a thrill to watch. Christopher Lloyd and Arzadeh also return for this installment as Hedge Dad and Brother, respectively, and all three are having a blast. Nielson gets more due in this film as a frustrated spouse who knows her husband loves her family yet can't get him to invest in them, all while avoiding any sort of cliches of being the enabling partner. Colin Lang steps into his villain's side as the local sheriff out to stop Hutch, leaving audiences to hope this is just the beginning of more nefarious opportunities for the performer. Sharon Stone also shines as the unengaged mastermind, Lanchina offering the actor the chance to go to completely off the trail in a way that never betrays the royalty of the picture. Fans of the original Nobody will enjoy Nobody too. The spirit of the original movie remains largely intact. Alternate Kick and Lloyd are just as entertaining as ever, and the core concept of assassin that fight other assassin in a water park. Assassin that fights other assassin in a water park is as enthralling as you would imagine by veering away from traumatic tension, which is an inherent struggle with the nature of sequel. The movie gets a bicylinder and, while still entertaining, makes all of the non-born rattling action feel it a bit muted. With Hush fully returning to his role as an auditor or ruthless agent who carries out the most violent of the government mission, His wife Bika sees that he might be throwing himself too. Now, Universal Pictures confirmed that Nobody 2 will be available to rent or purchase on VOD starting September 2. The film is also now available to pre-order on 4K UHD Blu-ray with a release set for October 7. Purchasing either purge version of the movie will provide access to following bonus feature. Cast and filmmakers reveal Nobody 2 of COPSC entry on action with new character, more fighting, and spectacular style. Nobody does stunt like as Bob Odenkirk and the stunt team break down the creative process of designing, rehearsing, and executing intense, imaginative fight sequences like only the Nobody films can deliver. Nobody 2 hitting VOD so soon after its theatrical releases movie box office potential made on an estimated budget of $25 million. The sequel has so far grossed $36 million worldwide, far from a breakdown figure. For references, the first Nobody ended its run with $57 million worldwide, a positive result given its $16 million budget and its COVID-era release. It's likely that the movie was also a solid performer on digital too, given its positive reception. Nobody 2 intending on VOD so soon after release could be a sign that investors think it could excel here. Now, Nobody ending leaves the door open for a third film, and Odenkirk himself had expressed interest in returning as Hutch. However, given the sequel's performance so far, it's not looking likely that another movie will get made, at least not at the same budget level. On Rotten Tomatoes, Nobody 2 enjoys a respectful critics score of 78% with the popcorn mentor score coming in even higher at 89%. In neither of these figures match up to a first film's score. They indicate generally positive reception, and his score helped drive VOD rental and purchases in the weekend ahead, as has been proven time and time again. Getting audiences into theater these days in challenging movies from often have to feel like events, and Nobody 2 has not reality had been buzz. The sequel does, however, have the making of a digital hit, and low or mid-budget action movies like his have dominated the VOD landscape for decades. It's not clear whether the franchise will continue with a third installment, but Odenkirk has proven himself a capable and unlikely action star, and the Nobody movies really take advantage of his persona. Hutch families remains up in the air bloody too. Landing on VOD means a lot more people are about to experience the film. Director Timo has explained how Nobody 2 ending separate the franchise from things like John Wick in a big way. Nobody 2 picks up after the first film as Hutch Mansell's Bob attempts to reconnect with his family on a peaceful vacation, only to be pulled back into the action when they are faced with an unexpected threat. And the film has been met with a mostly positive reception, with Nobody to certified fresh Rotten Tomato score hinting at a promising future for the franchise with its focus on family life. Nobody sets itself apart from other modern action franchise, especially as the sequel incorporates Hutch's wife, Bika, and son Brady into Nobody is ending action sequences. Now, in an exclusively interview with Screen Rant, Timo has revealed a deeper meaning behind Nobody 2 ending, the importance of Hutch Mansell's family, and how the sequel reframes the title. Furthermore, discuss just what makes the Nobody franchise as a whole markedly different from John Wick despite its similar style. Check out the director full comment. Exclusive reading the script, my biggest takeaway was director Timo has explained how Nobody 2 ending. Imagine National Lamps Bond vacations crossed with the first blood, and you have some idea of the desired action comedy that is Nobody 2. The sequel to 2021 surprise hit brings back the suburban families you have come to know and love. And like many a loving clan, they have got their share of problem. In particular, Cash and wife Beckham are drifting apart mainly because it's working all the time to pay off their debts, and kids Brady and Sammy Paisley feel neglected. Sounds perfectly ordinary except for the fact that Hutch is professional assassin with a special set of skill and the debt he owes in $30 million to the Russian mob after he made the mistake of burning their money in the last film. He is tried, especially after an assignment goes harrowingly wrong in the film's entertainingly out the top opening in the which he has forced to play face on not one but their set of little opponent. Our family vacation seems in order, and Hush no, just the place is Plummerville the summer resort town featuring an amusement park Woody has fond memories of going to as a kid, so he picks up his elderly father at the old age home and brings him out to the now run John for some innocent fun. Except from if you have seen nobody, you have a pretty good idea that innocent fun does not come easily to Hutch. Much of the film's first failure came from the gradual reveal that his unassuming middle-aged central character was in fact that sort of who can overcome gangs of literally armed men half his age. That element of surprise is inherently missing in the sequel to its detriment, but screenwriter Derek Kosted and Aaron Rabin's simple but Ignatius premises provides plenty of amusement after all. Who can't relate to someone desiring a simple vacation with their family only to have work issue get in the way? It all began innocently enough with an altercation at an arcade between the Brady and another boy who accused him of hitting on his girlfriend in the ensuing melee on overly aggressive security. God made the mistake of breaking Hutch's young daughter on the head. Hutch manages to get his family out before claiming he's forgotten his cell phone and returning to the arcade to get medieval on the employees. This arouses the ire of the town's legend, Sheriff Collihank, playing against Rap, and Crookham theme park owner, who decide to get revenge on the apparent family man causing them trouble. And that of the course is when all hell breaks loose. As Hutch learned that he torn his center of operation of female crime boss, Langina, gleefully played by Sharon Stone. She is the sort of a psycho who owns a casino where the plenty of cheating is that, which she admits to personality. Director Timo and They Will Take You. The night comes for viewers, taking over from the previous film, Elia Sejhar Madram, realizing the franchise blend of bone-crushing violence and slapstick humor. The stunt team and the fight choreographer deserve tremendous credit as well. Not to mention Odinkerk, who has one of Slam Nielson, is not only becoming an unlikely action movie star at a mature age but also displaying an impressive physicality in the elaborately staged fight scene. Much of the fun comes from the ingenuity of the seemingly mild-mannered figure, suddenly surprising into violent action, making innovative use of the whatever random object happen to be nearby that he can transform into a lethal weapon. There are not many actors, after all, who can convincingly play both sad, sacral estate placement Shally Levin in a Broadway production of Gallantry, Glenn Prose, and a lean man killing machine. The formula admittedly wears over the course of its running time, especially in a well staged but familiar feeling climatic battle between the Hush plus several collaborators, including his elderly father and adopted brother, Harry, and Landis, heavily armed mentioned in a booby trapped amusement. The formula admittedly wears a latent over the course of its running term, especially in a well staged but familiar feeling climatic battle between the Hush plus several collaborators, including his elderly father and adopted brother Harry, and Londoners heavily armed mentioned in a booby-trapped amusement park. But the filmmakers keep things moving at such a brisk pace. The film clocks in at mercifully brief 89 minutes. That you go along for a rowdy ride, and there are so many terrific action sequences and injections of mordant, deadpan humor that it proves greatly entertaining is not as friendly as I remembered to it be. Our born weary Hutch comments at one point. There is especially true when it comes to Stone, who seemed to having the charm of her wife, life having its up to a gorilla. the well-styled villain, who at one point performs what can only be described as an evil dance. Her work here is not subtle, but subtly is not what you are looking for in a Nobody movie. Production 1882 films of partner. Distributed producers Galley MC. The big draw of 2021's Nobody was Bob Odenkirk Breaking Bad. The former sketch comedian and Better Call Saul star playing against type as a grizzled, ruthless killer you really don't want to piss off, and even though its novelty is long gone. The same holds true for the unmending but diverging Timo directed. The added familiar focus this time around is welcome switch up as this change in scenery leans into the summer break vibes at every turn as Hutch is desperate to make memories with his family. At Plummerville, one of the few places he had fun growing up, the plan seemed to be working until, in typical Hutch fashion, an incident at an arcade repeatedly escalated. It's a strong steering point, but the evolution of relationship dynamic in Draco's dad and Aaron Rabin's screenplay is disappointingly shallow. A recurring theme about sons being better men than their fathers ends up being little more than a platitude dissolved with the minimum amount of force. Meanwhile, Hutch's wife Becca, a returning Connie Nelson, is understandably upset at her other half inability. Thankfully, the action helps to smooth over some of the ineffectual storytelling, while nothing hits the highest of the bus sequence in the first movie. Weapons continue to show down its box office competition, both new and old alike, which included long-awaited action movie Nobody 2. The critically acclaimed horror flick easily repeated as a top film over the weekend thanks to an estimated domestic take of $25 million per the number. However, it's also worth noting that writer and director Zach Crickers must see Weapons was the only film to get the better of the Nobody sequel. Now, what's even more amazing is the Freaker Friday also outperformed the return of Bob beloved's assassin family man Hutch Mansell. Number 1, Weapons, and number 2, Freaker Friday, $14.5 million. Easily held off the Odenkirk-led Nobody 2, which had to settle for the bronze medal at the weekend box office with only $9.3 million by comparison. The original Nobody 2021 made only a few million dollars and less $6.8 million when a drop during the COVID-19 pandemic 4 years ago. It's surprising the action sequel did not make more money because both the critics and audiences are enjoying the further exploit of Odenkirk's titular character. In fact, reviews from the critics resulted in Nobody 2 being certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes with a 78% rating against 134 critics, which is only slightly over the Nobody's own certified fresh 84%. Meanwhile, the fans who did show up to see the action film is theater gave the sequel a B plus cinema score and a verified hot 89%. Popcorn meter rating formally the RT audience score. Now, some people will argue that Nobody's 2 lackluster performances is due to the fact that the 2025 summer movie season is winding down. However, Weapon and Freaky Friday's continued success clearly candidated that extension. Fortunately for Universal Pictures, the Nobody sequel reportedly only cost $25 million to make. Only 2 weeks remain before the 2025 summer movie season sadly come to close, and the rigging box office champion Weapon could conceivably pull off a three-peat as the number 1 movie eyes next weekend. For now, while Freaky Friday and Nobody 2 settled for the silver and bronze medals respectively. The Fantastic Four first step checked in the at number 4 over the weekend with $8.8 million. Meanwhile, The Bad Guys 2 rounded out the top 5 with the $7.5 million, and Sydney Sweeney's latest movie, American, could not even crack the top 10 as the films only brought home $5 lakh during its debut per the Hollywood proprietor. Weapon $25 million, Freaky Friday $14.5 million, Nobody 2 $9.3 million. The Fantastic Four, First Steps, $8.8 million. The Bad Guys, $7.5 million. The re-release of Shin Godzilla 2016 also managed to make its marker over the weekend with $1.6 million. Number 6 Superman. The re-release Shine of Godzilla 2016 also managed to make its mark over the weekend of $1.6 million, while number 6 Superman inched its way even closer to the $6 million mark at the worldwide box office, despite being released already on digital for fans to watch from the comfort of their own homes. Director Ron Howard's Agents joins the 2025 box office next on August 22. The survival thriller features a who Hollywood talent, including Jude Law, Anna de Armas, Vanessa Kirby, and Sydney Sweeney. But the critics who have already seen the Oscar-winning film are not that impressed with the final product 58%. Honey Don't also dropped next weekend along with the filmmaker David Taylor Riley, but the most intriguing title will likely to be English dub of the year's highest grossing movie globally. The international sensation has made nearly $2 billion worldwide, $1.994 billion, and now A24 is unleashing the animated adventure in hopes of improving on the film's $17 million domestic take. After Saturday post, summer is now in August, slave with the overall weekend for all titles falling under $100 million for the second time this season, with an estimated $93 million per com score. The last time for this happened is 2025 was during the second weekend of summer, May 9-11, when all movies grossed just over $84 million per box office mojo, while summer at $83.4 billion remains ahead of last year's heat wave by 2%. As we mentioned last weekend, we are unlikely to hit $4 billion mark. The last time summer did that was pre-COVID, as we said earlier this week. Thank God Warner Bros. Moved Weapon into the late summer, or else we would not be feeling our pulse. The Zack Cracker peaks hold for weekend 2 stand at 43% for a second frame of $25 million after a $7.4 million Friday and Saturday of $9.6 million plus 29%, while Weapons is not having the dips of the Get Out 15% and Snyder 5%. In the second weekend, any time in a horror movie is holding after that 50%, that's remarkable. And this is original horror movie is posting a second weekend that's better than 2025 other big horror picks. Final Destination Bloodline minus 63% and 28 years later minus 68%. Weapons has PLF and IMAX. The latter grossing $1.8 million all stateside for a $10.5 million running film in weekend 2. Global for Weapons, which only cast a new line 38 million plus, stand out worth $148 million. Universal's Bob Odenkirk Wildnet action sequel Nobody Choose despite solid Exciter B plus San score. The first one received a negative and 4 stars and a 62% definite recommend on calm score. Second engine spot track is coming in softer than expected with a $9.25 million opening after $3.8 million Friday and Saturday $3.1 million. The movie was cheap at net $25 million before being a day spent, and clearly this is the launch cat model meat and a potato action movie aimed at other duties. Said who showed up 40%. In fact, Lawrence Case winter action movie did better, with enough thieves to add $15 million and Flight risk at $11.5 million. However, what's unfortunate there is that the audiences, at least from a dollar-wise perspective for Nobody 2, did not expand that much from the original opening, which posted $16.8 million. With movies just skittish about returning to cinema after COVID, or when the first title opened in 2021, the falling for this is IP has only grown so much. No Johan Avic phenomenon going on here with this 89 knot production. The original John Wick, similar to the first audition, Power, boomed on home entertainment future, bigger, theatrical opening and causes of its part two. It's unfortunate for nobody, as these movies are a great homage to Stab MC titles like The Hunter and Client Eastwood. Movies such as Every Which Way But Loose. Nobody Two has PLF, which are driving 29% of the weekend with an even play across the country. However, prominent in the West, AMC Burbank 16 in the single leading venue with just over 28K to Saturday night. Diversity demos for the overall 68% male leaning movie were 52%, Caucasians 21%, Hispanic and Latino 12%, Black and 8% Asian American. Clearly, the fans were carrying the torch for Nobody 2 on social, with noticing overall positive sentiment and very little negative. The sequel, at close to 180 million, was 49%. Above action drama CNF norm across TikTok, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Instagram combined during COVID. The first movie stayed were 53% lighter. Interesting to note that the social media edition Ramis Malik, the amateur, was lower at $89 million, but the movie opened higher at $14 million. Great grades on Nobody 2, 82%, certified fresh critics, and 92% audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. That's not from the first installment, which respectively did 84% and 94% with critics and audiences. The rest of top 5 for the week is follow. Weapon. Weapon is still running around on top of 4 box office stars in its second weekend, as Universal's action sequel Nobody 2 looks to debut in third place. The Bob Odenkirk led Nobody 2 beat into $3.8 million across Friday and preview screening from 3260 locations. That's a notch above its 2021 predecessor $2.5 million opening day. The film debuted in a pandemic-hobbled domestic landscape as COVID vacancies are only. The Bob led Nobody 2 beat into the $3.8 million across Friday and preview screening from 3 to 60 locations. That's a notch above its 2021 predecessor's $2.5 million opening day. The film debuted in the pandemic hobbled domestic landscape as COVID vacancies were only beginning to roll out to the public. Warner Bros. And New Lions Weapons remains in the first, adding another $7.4 million on Friday to go down roughly just 14% from its opening day total a week ago. Factoring out previous screening grosses, the well-previewed Assemble horror feature is holding great and has a shot at pushing its domestic total to 90% million to Sunday, running ahead of Snow White, 87% million to rank as the 14th highest grossing North American release of the year. Freakier Friday will stick in the second, adding another $4.5 million on Friday. Disney's comedy sequel is eyeing a sophomore outing in the mid-teen to push its domestic total north of $54% million. Disney also notched fourth place with the Fantastic Four. First Step will claimed only another $2.4 million on Friday, down 47% from its daily total a week ago. Now, its fourth weekend, Marvel Studio superhero installment looks to push to above $246 million domestic through Sunday. It now ranked 23 in North American grosses among the Marvel Cinematic Universe's 37 release feature. Universal's The Bad Guys 2 rounds out to the top 5, adding another $1.9 million on Friday and hitting a third weekend gross of $6.9 million, down just 35% from last week. The DreamWorks animation sequel should hit a $56 million domestic gross through Sunday, pacing just behind the 2022 original, which earned $57 million through the same amount of time. Nobody 2 digital release that has been now confirmed only about 2 weeks after its theatrical